Okay, good morning, everyone. Good to see a lot of you that I recognize here today. Makes me feel like I'm among friends. Yeah. I'm Chris Miller. My background is in anthropology and design and business. So I kind of work at that intersection organizations. And I am going to be talking about seeing systems within systems. And so as we were listening to Ricardo, I started writing down some notes. And it's what I do. I work with highlighters and pencils and paper, and also technological systems beyond the pencil. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And let's see, I'm going to move this forward. Okay, so I'm going to start here. A seminar is not a seminar unless it's provocative and it makes you think and you hear contradictory ideas, ideas that you may not have heard before, some that you go, oh yeah, what's next, right? Okay, so this one really struck me. When I was getting ready to teach contextual research methods, which I do quite frequently. This is an industrial design class that I've been teaching for a long time. For those of you that don't know, I spent 7 years teaching in design management at SCAD starting in 2007. I went to the Illinois Institute of Technology for 5 years. I always had the intention of coming back to Savannah. So here I am back in Savannah and happy to be here. So when I was preparing for this class, and I've been around human-centered design for quite a while, and I saw this and I went, oh yeah, because I've seen this idea come up before. We need to get beyond human-centered design. We're not able to do human-centered design anymore because, as the folks at Studio 10 said, it's pretty clear that human-centered design is not going according to plan, right? Not going according to plan. So we need a new paradigm. We need a new way of thinking. And one of the things that we need to do is be thinking about systems because we have privileged human and our technical systems over other systems that exist. Right. So that's my starting point. Let's get rid of human-centered design. So what do we put in its place? We don't know yet. We're trying to figure that out. I think we've made some progress, but we need to move really quickly. And it's a concern. Okay. So, whoops, let's see. I'm sorry. I've lost my way already. Back. Okay. So, whoops. Let's go back to the previous. Go back some. One more. One more. Sorry. Okay. All right, let's go back. Okay, so now the next one. Yes. All right. Okay. So, in thinking about systems, one of the things that we learn to do in design, one of our methodologies, is to map. We map a lot of things. One of the things we map are stakeholders, right? And so this is an important point about stakeholders is that how we perceive systems at all is largely framed by who, and I'm adding this, and what is included, and the experience and interests that they bring to bear. So typically, we talk about stakeholder mapping in terms of the human actors. We've expanded that. We're starting to think about non-human actors, about different species. And now we have actually extended that thinking to things like systems like rivers, like natural systems, right? And land, right? Which we have not been thinking about, and to our peril. So this is a quote from an article on expanding perceptions to the circular economy through design. So when I teach contextual research methods, I ask students to start with the idea of a circular economy and how can we design for that? Because what we've been designing for is not circular, it's linear, it's take, make, and waste, right? And we need to change our entire mindset to think about this differently. So let's think about planet-centered design. let's think about that. This is the best name that I've come up with so far, or that I've seen. This is not original, but I have seen it written as post-human design, which kind of implies that humans aren't in the picture anymore, which could happen. But I'd rather think about, like, let's try to avoid that trajectory, and let's think about people, planet-centered design, and scratch this idea of human-centeredness. It's not serving us or anyone. Okay. So starting point is that systems are living, they're dynamic, they're interactive, and they're multidimensional, right? And Ricardo touched on a lot of this, and I would like to take it a step further. I am not sure that these are going according to plan. Whoop, I'm way ahead.
You want to go back? I can also switch from here if you just tell me this.
Yes. Oh, please. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
at the end. I'm not done. All right. So if you go back to like 3 or 4.
Was it this one?
Earlier. Okay, so that's a good place to start. Okay, so again, dynamic, interactive, and multidimensional. Next, please. Okay, so I'm going to be mentioning some things that I've been inspired by. Again, I don't think that there's any way to just say, okay, we've arrived. We're really just kind of entering the time of thinking about this. And one of the things that came up in Ricardo's presentation that I thought was particularly important is to think about resistance. Like, why aren't we doing something? We have the technological capabilities to supposedly, well, I would say, I don't like the word solution, I like the word intervention, to intervene in some of these systems. And why doesn't that happen? Well, it happens because these are very deeply entrenched systems with vested interests, and it's very hard to get people to think about changing those things, but we must. Okay, so we have to develop visions for that. We have to develop ways of talking about these things that bring people along, or as many people as possible. So one of the inspirations that I have had over the last couple years is about transition design. Now, locally, I've been very inspired by people like Professor Sharma and Scott Boylston, who are also thinking in systems. As an anthropologist, this is what I do. Anthropology is based on holism. It's like a foundational principle. When anthropologists go out in the world, what we look at are systems. We look at housing and kinship and trade and all these things, and how they work together and how they are dynamic, and they're changing and they're influencing each other. And then outside influences come in. Those of you that have had me for the history of innovation know about the steel axis and the stone axis and the disruption, how disruption can happen very rapidly. So it's very easy that, to get overwhelmed with all this, right? So how do we learn to see these systems within systems without being overwhelmed, while we recognize that we're dealing with wicked problems that have no simple solutions, right? But we have to address them anyway. So how do we do this? So one of my inspirations has been transition design, which was developed by a group of folks from Carnegie Mellon, Terry Irwin, Colin Tonkinwise. And I think that this is a great way to look at a path forward. So transition design deals with socio-technical systems. Next, please. That's it? Yay, I got it. Okay, so this is another article that inspired me. John Denham says that I learn by reading. I think that's kind of selling me short. I do read. I get a lot of ideas by reading other people's ideas. This one, GELS, was 2004. And actually, it was Terry Irwin and her colleagues in transition design that began to draw on this entirely different field. So F.W. Gels talks about societal functions are fulfilled by social technical systems, and they consist of a cluster of aligned elements, right? These elements are brought into alignment. They may not naturally align, they're brought into alignment, which gets into this idea of social technology and the sociology of technology. So some of these design or aligned elements include artifacts, knowledge, user practices, markets, regulation, law, cultural meaning, infrastructure, maintenance networks, and supply networks. So transitions are conceptualized as systemic innovations, i.e. that they change from one social technical system to another, right? And next. Okay, so here's an example that was actually Gels developed this model, and it was picked up by Terry Irwin in one of her really interesting lectures that she gave a couple of years ago. But the point here, and the point that Terry makes, is that design permeates socio-technical systems. So a little bit of a nudge or a pushback on Ricardo's claim that designers are not responsible. I would say, oh yes, we are, right? We're the ones that are out there designing these systems. And it may seem that our designs are kind of inconsequential, small, and insignificant, but when they accumulate, it is very significant. So, for example, the socio-technical system for land-based road transportation, it goes all the way through from the actual artifact of automobiles and everything that they displaced, the creative destruction that occurred as automobiles gained ascendancy, and this new socio-technical system came into being. So we have cultural and symbolic meaning. We have road and traffic systems. We have regulation and policies, maintenance, distribution, production and industry structure, markets, user practices, and fuel infrastructure. So we are now involved in a big technological and some major technological changes from fossil fuel to something else, right? Electricity, battery technology, something else. But it's changing the social technical system, autonomous vehicles, right? All this stuff is wrapped in together. Very overwhelming, but we need to address it. And we can only do it by pulling these systems apart and seeing how they work together. Okay, so my concern here is that we're still not seeing the whole picture. Even when we talk about socio-technical systems, where does the environment come in? How do we start thinking about environment? Because these social technical systems are having a profound effect on the environment. So again, this is the same model, just in a different textual form. So if you could move forward one more, please. All right. So when we think about systems and systems changing, we talk about socio-technical systems and the social shaping of technology, but also the technological shaping of the social, right? So we have both things going on. But what we're not thinking about enough and very clearly is that the environment is underpinning both of these systems, right? And probably some that we aren't thinking about, like our biological systems, are also being impacted. As I mentioned before, we're looking at systems, we're enlarging our view of systems. And as we do that, we're beginning to bring in new concepts like the Earth Law Center, where rivers now have rights, the push to give natural systems rights under law. Corporations have rights. Why not natural systems? We need to be asking that question. Next, please. All right, so this is kind of where I end, which is a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. People normally cut reality into compartments. We do that so we can find our way in the world on a daily, minute and hourly way of living, right? So we're unable to see the interdependence of all phenomena. And again, I think about phenomena, not problems. Problems is very narrowing, I think. If we think about phenomena rather than problems as designers, I think we're going to see things in a different way. And that's what this is going to require. So to see one in all and all in one is to break through the great barrier, which narrows one's perception of reality. Now, to be fair, we as human beings have had to develop ways of breaking reality down into compartments. But at this point, with the impact that we're having, not only on other humans, but on the world. We can't afford not to be thinking differently. So with that, thank you very much. Thanks.